Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. I hope you guys are feeling awesome out there and having a great start to your day, a great week out there as we're coming to the end, very closely to the end to our first week of 2023. I got you an update on what's going to happen, though, specifically for today. And then, of course, tonight, we'll continue to focus in on what we've been talking about the last couple evenings. And that's a East Coast storm signal for next week into maybe next weekend. That's pretty far out, but some details, not really details, but some growing signs and signals continue to slowly emerge. So we'll continue to break that down. As far as everywhere I cover, which is the central and eastern U.S., not a very active day today, but we're going to figure it out. And we're going to give you some revised information, not very detailed information at the very end of the video, and kind of give you some updated model information about what we're seeing for next week. But of course, stay tuned for tonight. We'll get much more detail. Quick reminder, have a lot of people, I've seen it a lot, and I just think it's due to the fact there's a lot of people searching on YouTube with what's going on out west with the major system that's moved onto the West Coast, creating some flooding issues. Well, not some, a lot of flooding issues along the West Coast. A lot of people needed rain and they're getting it too fast. Just a reminder, on this channel, I mainly cover the central and eastern U.S. And that's because of two things. I know I mentioned this a lot and I don't want to rant, and I'm not ranting. I'm just explaining to the audience, especially anybody who really wishes I could cover the West, and I really want to. But time restraints and just lack of detail. That is the biggest thing. Time restraints meaning the videos would be even longer. I already make astronomically long videos, very, very long videos, but they would be even more long. And I won't be able to get as detailed out there because I'll be honest, I'm not 100% familiar. Of course, I know the geographical features, mountain ranges, valleys, things like that, but I like to get detailed about specific regions. And right now, I just don't have the time to do it. And I work a full-time job. I have a beautiful family out in front of me, and I got the real world right in front of me. So I'm already kind of biting on time, forking out 2 videos a day, and it's part of the future plans of this channel is to cover the entire lower 48. But as of now, there's a lot of awesome channels that cover the Western U.S. I'm definitely always going to be one of those channels to promote other channels. I'm not all for myself. I'm always trying to uplift others and help others. So there's a lot of great channels that talk about that. But in the future, that is the plans. But anyways, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. It goes a long way with the algorithm, and I really appreciate the people subscribing. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it, and so others can too. Let's get rocking this morning. Watches and warnings. Of course, it's very active in the West Coast. A lot of wind advisories, high wind warnings, a lot of things going on. Flood watches, flood warnings. You got winter storm warnings where the Sierra Nevada is going to get feet of snow. I'm talking 100, 150 inches of snow. It's ridiculous. But normally when you get this fire hose of moisture that comes in, of course, in the higher elevations, it's cold enough for snow. For everybody else, still winter weather advisories up for this just pesky low pressure that just keeps spinning around and has dumped feet of snow on Minneapolis. Areas are reported well over a foot. And not only just snow, but heavy wet snow has fell. Normally this time of the year, it's snowing at very cold temperatures. Well, not with this storm. It's just been snowing in the 20s and low 30s. Winter weather advisories continue for some winter weather ongoing right now, and that will continue throughout the day for Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, areas of New York State, even a couple counties into Mass. So some dense fog advisories. Look at what's going on. This is, of course, our big system. It was wild looking at the radar out of San Francisco last night with this huge plume of moisture coming on shore. I'm sure it gave you several inches of rain in a very short amount of time with some high winds, and it continues to be the case as this system moves west, and it'll affect the weather downstream into the central and eastern U.S. also. But finally, no severe weather to talk about today. We could have some thunderstorms in Florida, but outside of that, we're pretty in the clear, and I don't see any severe weather threats for the foreseeable future as of right now. That could change. But this is kind of what's going on. The middle of the country, south central U.S. continues to just be chilling. Nothing really going on. In the deep south, today will be it'll be a better day weather-wise. But speaking of the southeast, we'll go through this very quickly because there's not a whole lot to talk about, I'll be honest. Some storms could develop about midday in central Florida. Could be kind of a line along a front. So meaning in northern areas of Florida in the Panhandle, 60s and 70s for highs. But if you get down into the southern half of Florida, it feels like summer. I mean, not the middle of summer, but you're well into the 80s down to Miami. But, along this line and north of it, you're dealing with some showers and cooler temperatures. Still not cool, but cooler. This continues to drape across Florida, and we'll just continue to watch how these storms fire up across the peninsula of Florida, but I'm not expecting a big deal with these storms. But we need to watch out because this storm system has been kind of wacky with how many tornado warnings there was. I didn't even mention last night, my area, we had a confirmed tornado about 10 minutes from my house. It actually hit my sister-in-law's house. It didn't, demolish the house. It knocked some shingles off and some siding, but it was a confirmed EF0 tornado. And we're probably going to have more confirmed tornadoes as they do more surveys from the National Weather Service today. So that was right in my neck of the woods. It got pretty intense there around just before lunchtime, but luckily no reports of injuries, just a little bit of structural damage and things like that. But anyways, pretty quiet. Maybe some showers, maybe even isolated flurry drifts in later this evening into the overnight hours into Kentucky. We'll watch that. Northeast, dealing with some snow in Maine. Heavy at times. This continues to move through Maine and gets to the northern part of Maine throughout the late morning and afternoon hours, and you could have some freezing drizzle, freezing rain, and the down east areas of Maine just could create a light glaze in certain areas, and maybe some snow showers in the higher elevations of the interior northeast are certainly possible. Then we'll watch this little band right here that moves through into the I have no idea what just happened. Okay, there we go. Into the overnight hours. This could, bring a chilly rain into New York City into the wee hours of the morning. And then check it out. As we're getting later tonight, I'm talking about after midnight, some rain and snow showers start to enter the picture out of the Ohio Valley into Pennsylvania. A little bit of snow for Erie. Maybe some of the higher hills. It could be snow. Not sure what will happen in Pittsburgh. Maybe some flakes flying around, but it'll probably mainly stay rain. But maybe some flakes mixing in. And then, we'll watch this system. We'll talk about this a little bit tonight. But as we're waking up tomorrow morning, maybe a round of snow for areas of Massachusetts and maybe some of those higher hills of Connecticut could be working its way through. Not expecting a big event, but you're going to have a low pressure trying to develop right here. And this could be an event that kind of sneaks up on areas of southern New England. Could, maybe drop a couple inches of snow very quickly tomorrow morning. But we'll talk on that tonight, okay? This is a little sneaky event for you folks. And, here it is for around lunchtime tomorrow. And I'm sorry, my cat's right beside me wanting to jump into my lap. But around lunchtime tomorrow, you could be having some heavy, wet snow falling in areas of southern New England. We'll watch that for sure. But South Central U.S., you guys, I only give you about 45 seconds of airtime. It's because nothing's going on out here. It's very quiet. We'll go all the way through the night tonight. It's just still quiet. There's just nothing going on. And just enjoy it because the weather can get kind of rowdy out here sometimes. I'll tell you that. North Central U.S., you still got this little spin. It was wild looking at the radar off Minneapolis yesterday. This crazy spin just south and southeast of the city. And it was actually moving back west. It was pretty wild to see. Just kind of lost in the flow. We'll still be dealing with some snow showers, things like that for Wisconsin, and this will continue to kind of spin through. But what's interesting is what's going to happen is and my cat just jumped into my lap, so I apologize for the interruptions, but she's very loving when it's really quiet in the house, and she just likes to cuddle. I'm a cat person, guys. For a guy, you don't see that much, but I'm a cat person. So I can only use one hand right now. You got snow showers moving into Illinois, northern Indiana, as we're getting into about the midday time frame today. And we keep this going, and there could be a round of moderate to maybe at times a burst of heavier snow in areas of Indiana. And we'll get a little bit closer look at this here in a second, but just some snow showers wrapping through northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan as we're getting into around dinner time tonight. Not a big deal. But you could have a little bit of snow showers kind of flying around this afternoon in the entire state of Michigan. You really could. It's just not going to amount to much. Just nothing that y'all aren't already used to. So we'll get a little bit closer to the Ohio Valley today. We'll start off this morning. We're getting into about mid-morning. Check out the little bit of snow activity. Kind of moving into Illinois, northern Indiana, southern sections of Michigan. And like I said, there could be some, not necessarily convective elements to this, but there could be some burst of heavy snow that could coat the ground really quickly. And then, we're getting into about the early afternoon time frame, about 1 p.m. This is potentially how the radar could look. And, in this case, it's snowing pretty good in areas of northern Indiana if the HRRR model is correct. And in this range, it does a pretty good job, guys. So maybe a burst of snow for Indiana today, maybe as far south as Indianapolis. And then this will try to work its way into Ohio, but it will be dealing with a little bit too much warm air. Very marginal setup, not a lot of cold air to work with, but as we're working our way through, maybe some cold rain for Cleveland, Dayton, Columbus, Ohio, but eventually this could turn to a little bit of snow for you folks for the rest of Ohio as we're getting into around the 9 p.m. time frame tonight, and additional snow showers working their way through Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, things like that. And they will continue throughout the overnight hours. I mean, this is what 2 a.m. in the morning could look like overnight tonight. Still snow showers working their way through Indiana, Ohio. As far as how much snow could fall between now and the next 24 hours, maybe an inch in northern Illinois, maybe a coating in Chicago, southwest Michigan, maybe an inch and a half, and then just a dusting to coating, maybe an inch in northern areas of Indiana. Definitely let me know what you guys see today, Ohio. Just a dusting. For you folks up here that could see some snow shower activity today, in Wisconsin, the UP and Michigan, maybe a half an inch of snow to an inch of snow, maybe a little bit more of a lake enhancement up here on the southern shoreline of Lake Superior. We'll watch this, maybe a few inches of snow, but nothing you guys aren't used to. Temperatures today, it's still warm in the southeast, even though you had a little trough come through, but you'll notice there's no humidity today for most. And now, unless you're in far southern Texas or southern Florida, the humidity kind of disappears today. I noticed it this morning. It was about 60 degrees, but it felt like a totally different 60 degrees this morning compared to the 60 degrees that we felt yesterday morning. So that's the difference between humidity and not humidity, right? So chilly day across the Mid-South, Ohio Valley, 40s in Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, 50s. Ohio Valley, 30s and 40s. The further west you work, the colder it gets, especially northwest. And I mean, it'll get all the way to 60 degrees in Washington, D.C. today. The Delmarva area will get into the 60s, 40s and 30s, even for some of the higher elevations of the northeast. The only area that's really locked on the east coast below freezing is just about the entire state of Maine. So let's switch and talk about this East Coast storm signal. And we're not going to get very detailed on this. We're going to do that tonight. We'll continue to do that tonight. And I already had a couple comments that mentioned, man, you were wish casting, the crap out of this. That's not quote unquote what they said or anything like that, but it's almost, they're saying you really are trying to wish cast this snow. That wish cast term is definitely offensive to some people in the world, guys. It's not wish casting. I'm searching for a signal. Do I like snow? Yeah. Am I going to talk about something that I do not or even remotely closely think is going to happen? I never will do that to you guys. I think you guys know that. I try not to hype. I try not to put these gigantic symbols of a giant hurricane the size of 18 states on the lower 48 and tell you a gigantic storm is coming. That's not a realistic scenario. I try to get a little bit deeper into this for you guys. But there's a lot of winter weather fans that, on my channel, and I love talking about winter weather. And being in January, anything can happen. And we don't have to have a lot of cold air working into this, but we'll talk about that all tonight. But just remember, guys, I'm looking for a storm signal. I am. I'm not going to overly look for it to the point where there's nothing really there, but there is a strong dual storm signal on all ensembles and all model runs, operational runs. So let's check this out. We're getting into next week. This is about 6 days from now. First off, here's our near miss with that first system that we've been talking about. You got northern stream snow. It's snowing, on the 11th, about 6 days from now. Next Wednesday, if you're confused about the timestamp, it's right up here. JAN stands for January the 11th. But remember, don't focus so much on the time, just the time frame, if you will. So if you see any cat in the background, he's probably jumping on the bed. She's probably jumping on the bed back there. But snow falling in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, the Northeast. But you need this to link up with this to be a big winter storm for the eastern U.S. And in this case, doesn't look like it's going to do it as of now, but this could change. But you see the two main pieces of energy right beside each other. Cold air coming down, this and this. And then after this moves through, and they do connect, but they do connect eventually kind of around Maine. And then you watch areas like Nantucket and Nova Scotia. And a lot of times when they don't connect for the Northeast, they do connect for some of those areas in Canada. But here comes our next system. Notice we're about a week out. We're literally a week out. This is next Thursday morning. We're this Thursday morning. Here comes our system right here. Flies down. It's more suppressed than it was on the Euro 1 yesterday, which necessarily isn't a bad thing. It tells us there's more cold air. The high pressure is probably stronger, and it's actually pushing the storm down more. But look at this. Next Thursday evening, I'm not saying this is going to happen, one model run, but there's a strong storm signal. And and the European certainly isn't alone, and normally it isn't. You show a little bit of snow in Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, southern Missouri. But look what happens here. As this gets kind of shunted southeast, low pressure begins to redevelop or develop even more off the coast of the southeast. It's snowing all the way down into Georgia and South Carolina. And then eventually there's enough cold air with a cold air damming setup, with a high pressure up here funneling in cold air, that you got a low pressure developing off here, and you got some winter weather showing up along the coastline of the Carolinas. So, that's the second run in the row of showing it. Yes, it wasn't as crazy as the last Euro run, but it's not like it trended north. It actually trended further south with more cold air in general. So we got to watch this. And then this is very close for the rest of the eastern U.S. Look at the low pressure. If this moved a certain amount of miles this far, not many, generally speaking, this would be a big winter storm for the eastern U.S. It really would. So it's something we need to watch out for. And this has the makings for a very impactful winter storm. And this is something that could really, what I'm trying to say is I really think that we're going to have some pretty wild model runs over the next several days. It could totally go away. And if it does, hey, sorry for wasting your time talking about this. But I don't think it is, in my personal opinion. GFS, the latest GFS, this is what it shows. That first system, here it is. Same thing with the Euro. It's very close. Energy right here, energy right here. Will they connect somewhere? Latest GFS says no, they do not. But here comes the next system. It is very far north. The GFS is on the island because the Canadian shows it kind of like what it does with the European. Just not enough cold air. It's not as cold as the Euro. Which is unusual. Normally the Euro is much warmer than all models. But look what the kind of this low pressure does. It goes north at first, puts a substantial winter storm for these areas up here, but then it kind of gets shifted southward, almost like an upper level low, kind of goes down south, puts snow all the way down into Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina, the mountains, and it does something kind of weird and tries to develop a secondary low pressure right here. And if it could throw back more precipitation, it might be in the form of winter weather, and then it gone and gets off the coast, but then we're getting about past 10 days. It's in La La Land. We're already talking about stuff that's relatively in La La Land. So we'll go all the way out to the morning of the 10th. Not a strong signal for snow for the eastern U.S. or central U.S. But watch as we go through the next 5 days after. Watch how it builds very quickly. And we'll just go all the way out to the 15th. Look at this. I mean, you got even a pretty solid signal this far out, all the way down into the Carolinas and Georgia. Definitely into North Carolina and Virginia. So that's a big difference in a 4 or 5 day window, right? Big difference. That tells me that there is some sort of sign that there's going to be some kind of storm signal right into here between the 10th and the 15th. Will there be 2? Will there be 1? I doubt there'll be 2. But I guarantee you, I'm not going to guarantee you anything, but I would bet something that something is going to be around this time frame. Same thing. Start off on the morning of the 10th of January and watch how the GFS builds in something. But a lot of the heavier snow is further north. But you even got a signal way down here near Savannah, near Beaufort. Not saying it's going to snow down there, but it shows you that it's picking up on some coastal lows down here with enough cold air. Not near as strong as the European ensemble, but I mean, historically, I would favor the European ensemble over anything. So that's all I got, guys. Stay tuned for tonight. I have a feeling that there's going to be some interesting runs over the next several days, not necessarily today, but I got a gut feeling that we're going to see some massive model runs, and eventually we'll get tossed over all over social media. But just stay tuned. We're going to try to figure this out, and we're going to try to put what some of us want out of the equation, because that's considered wish casting, and just talk about what could possibly happen. So I am a winter weather fan, so naturally it excites me. I'm never going to be that person that just says, there's no hope for anything. you can throw all that out the window with me with anything in life. I'm a very uplifting person. So even when it comes to small things that truly don't matter for the most part in the grand scheme of things, like snow. But so we'll figure this out for you guys. You guys have an awesome day, and I'll be with you this evening. God bless.